Hey guys, we're back here at Paul's Cars in full primer. We'll show you that, so buckle up, put it in gear, let's get the show on the road. All right, here we are. Here's Paul. He did get the car fully sprayed. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
It's been a fun week, but a lot of progress was made. I was able to finish out the construction of the back end here and get all the filler work done. Everything is coated and sealed. The metal is protected, won't rust, and now you're not supposed to apply body filler over bare metal. So we have a barrier between the body filler and the metal of the panel. So next step would be a skim coat of filler, and we'll block that down. Then the whole car gets sanded and we can prime the entire thing. I just did some sanding, basically put on the first shaping coat, I guess you could say. It's not a thick layer of Bondo, but just enough to give me an idea of the slight imperfections now. The shape is mainly there. The body line is starting to come together, but I could feel that there's a little bit of a very low spot right here, and then a little bit of a dip here where I don't know if you can tell, but it gets kind of dark right there. A couple little pits and things like that from this first coat. So the next, and hopefully final, coat will be a really, really thin skimming coat that I'll come back and block off, and that should fill in these little tiny imperfections and bring the work out farther so I can feather everything out into the panel. I had it pulled out pretty decently, pretty smooth, so there aren't any really thick areas of filler here. On the back, there's the shape is back. I don't know if you remember, there was a lot of brazing and stuff like that, so all that ended up, all those little pits and stuff like that got filled with filler, and it's on the inside here, inside of the trim piece. There's not really any forces against this piece, so it's okay if it's, and it had to be a little bit thicker than normal just inside of this area right here because of the way that it was repaired initially. So yeah, I'm going to get the the polyester body filler mixed up, and we'll get into applying this. Now, that was the second pass of filler. It's really thin, as you can tell right here. It's kind of starting to come through. So all of this is just a really thin layer, just to barely get over the slight imperfections in the remaining part of the panel. And I don't know if you can tell, there's like a dark spot here, a couple little dark spots there. That's like right here. You can see a place where the filler's kind of got a little divot in it. So this last pass is basically going to be, again, super thin. Just not even over everything, just enough to get into these little low areas like that, and then I'll come back one last time with this long block, and basically, you know, saying this way on these panels, I'm starting to feel and form this body line, which I'm pretty sure it's done now. I'll know a lot more after it's primed. You'll be able to tell better, but overall, it's coming out great. All of this has come back to shape. This wrinkled edge right here is looking nice. So I think, yeah, one more little skim coat on these areas that need it, and we should be good to go for primer. Feels really nice now. I was able to block all that out and get it right, and then came back and sprayed the entire car with a coat of high build primer. So now, as it sits, the car has high build primer, and you see this grayish black spray on there. That is guide coat, which is a thin mist of, I just used some cheap spray paint, black spray paint, just to get something on there. And basically, as you block sand with 400 sandpaper, you'll wet sand basically until there is no more black. When there's no more black paint, then you have a smooth surface. I started sanding right here, and you can kind of see maybe the detail. There's a little bit of scratches left in this, so by the time you were finished taking off the primer, that would be no more scratches. The primer will actually fill in like very minute body filler.
I got here and I see the fender's kind of up here. He's started. He's got some sand marks here, but there's also some body filler. So tell us what happened here.
It had a minor curve or indentation right here. So this is just a little, basically I'm going to take the long block that you'll see in one of the videos where I was actually blocking the car down, and go pretty much all the way across this until there's almost nothing left. There will be a thin little bit where the divot is here. It is kind of heavy on there, heavy looking, but 99% of this is going to come off and be dust on the floor.
And what do you feel happened? Maybe somebody hit it with a door when they're getting out? What? Probably,
something, a door swung open on it, or somebody leaned on the car or something. Don't lean on cars.
Is this some of the original color down here where you can see maybe this gray here?
Yeah, so this would be the original gray. It's kind of pockmarked because of rock chips and whatnot. But yeah, that would be the original silver, then the primer, then the red was probably like an etching primer that they put under the first coat, or for the first coat.
Here's the hood. We haven't talked about the hood yet, Paul. We've seen it in the background of some of the videos, but we haven't talked about it. Is this savable? Can you use this? I see some rust spots up top, but can you use this?
Yeah, 100%. 99.9% of this hood is totally fine. What I'm going to do, this probably isn't even all the way through. If I was to sand this, it would just be a little rust. It's just a bubble. But this is the only place that it's all the way through. What I'll do is, you can even see where I kind of drew with my finger in the dirt. I'm probably going to cut that little section out and put in a new little piece of metal and grind that all down, and then I'll have, all metal there.
And these bulges in the hood weren't just for aesthetics, right? That you needed this in this hood for it to close. That engine sticks up a good bit, doesn't it?
Right. It looks cool, but that's not all it's for. It's a straight 6, so it was a really high, long engine, and so that's kind of to give a little bit of clearance to the center.
What goes here, Paul?
So on the early 240Zs, there was the ventilation grills were back here on the hatch, but that caused a problem with exhaust fumes getting pulled back into the car. Plus, it was a pretty complicated thing with drains inside of the hatch and whatnot, so it was kind of a pain. And so what they did was that before even a year, they came up with this system where this doesn't hold any water. It's just a little vent that goes up into the body, and they covered them with these badges. These badges were looking pretty bad, but I was able to polish them with some chrome polish and 4/0 steel wool, and then I just did a repaint on them. They may not be 100% perfect, but I think they're going to look really nice on there, like so, when it's all said and done. The original cars, this wasn't a vent, it was actually a 240Z badge with a circle. So this is what they made all the way till the end.
I see all this is black. Are you doing it? Does that get painted body color?
Yeah, absolutely. This is all going to get scuffed, cleaned, and this will all be base coat, clear coat, just like the outside of the car. I'm probably going to go ahead and paint under the fenders also, these frame rails, and under the fender areas, wheel wells. And then what I'll do is put the car up on the lift and mask everything off, and then just paint under the car with undercoat and paint that part black. But this will all be body color just for protection purposes. Basically, you can't ever see this.
Now, Paul had some friends over today and they worked on some parts. Was that suspension you were working on?
Yeah, we actually disassembled the entire rear and front subframes. So now I can get in and do a better paint job. We'll basically degrease and sand all these parts individually now. Well, that actually comes off of there, but it's stuck. But each piece will be clean, wire wheeled, and then get painted with a nice single stage gloss black.
And things like the brake caliper, you feel confident they'll work, or is that something that's just so cheap and available you just change it?
They're available. They're not necessarily cheap. A rebuild kit is probably I don't know, 20 bucks, 15 bucks, something like that. What I'm gonna do is try, if they free up, I'll try to rebuild them. If they're frozen solid, I might as well try to just get some rebuilds and send these off for cores.
So that's what you do. You send these off. So actually the ones you're getting are probably somebody else's that were sent in and rebuilt.
From, yeah, some you send them back to the factory and they'll redo them. They're still marked Sumitomo or whatever the brand they were, but they're remanufactured. And I've had good luck.
Yeah. What about the rear?
Rear subframe is all the way, has nothing left to it. They completely disassembled everything except the shocks. We're not taking those off. I do not want to pull these pins. That's a real pain, pulling the pivot pins for the lower control arm, and the bushings look fine. I'm not changing those. These bushings are still soft, so I'm staying with those.
And you said they've already changed the inserts, so
yes,
you're
it's already got
these are
shocks.
Great.
Yeah, new shocks, new springs, and new top hats. So all that's done.
To go on these spindles and on the wheel hubs and onto the car, Paul does have some wheels. They're right over there. We're not going to show you. He is getting another option. So you want to talk about those?
Actually, I might have 3 options, but it all depends. I was considering at first going with steel stock wheels with steel, sort of ugly, but you know, they're original hubcaps. They're not the prettiest hubcaps, but I think it would be kind of cool to have that original factory look, at least at times, because a wheel is something you can literally come home and put it on jack stands and in 20 minutes have the whole set changed.
A whole new looking car.
So the other option would be some period correct slot mags, and then I may have an option of, and I'm not putting tires on all these things, I'm probably going to decide on one, but some Koenig rewinds that are 15s, sorry, 14s, that would look pretty sweet with some white letter BF Goodriches on them or something.
Yeah, I like that. Also, the car will not be this high.
Yeah, I'm not gonna jack it up and put it on a 4-wheel drive chassis.
So here we are in the paint booth again. The doors are here, and you can see that feathering we were talking about with the different paint layers all the way. Here's bare metal. Here's that final color that it was. Here's the stock color and all its primer. But he's doing some work on them. You want to tell us about them?
Yeah, this door doesn't need much of anything. This door is pretty much in good shape. This will all get rust treated, and then, like you said, when I prime this and block it, that's going to completely take any imperfections in this feathering out. This door, driver's door, actually this was dented down, so I was able to hammer and dolly this flat, but I'm putting fender mirrors on this car, so I needed to get rid of the hole here. So I welded plates in each of the little mirror holes here, and then just put a little bit of filler to kind of take up the imperfections from warpage or whatever. And so that should be pretty nice.
So a lot of people may not know these cars in Japan had fender mirrors instead of door mirrors. And that's what you're putting here, right?
Yeah, they are completely ineffective basically for seeing anything behind you, but they look a lot cooler. So we're going with that and getting rid of this one. It had you had your choice, a single driver's side door mirror and nothing on the right, or 2 mirrors in the front that you can't see out of anyway. So that was your options.
Yeah, so where do they go on these fenders?
I have all the exact measurements, but basically, I got to stand up. Probably about right.
Oh, that far
here.
Forward, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
There are X amount of millimeters from the front, and then I have all the measurements from front and side. So it's something about right here.
Okay.
But yeah, up front, about a foot back from the headlight.
And how does that mount? Do you know yet? Is it the same as that? Is there something underneath?
Basically the same as this, but they do have, when you bolt it down, the mirror has a spring mount. So if you accidentally hit it, the whole mirror will flex instead of bending the fender, pretty much.
And this fender looks pretty good. I see some feathering out here, but
yeah, a little rust line right there, and then there was an extra hole right here that I had to fill for where the emblem goes. But other than that, the fenders were pretty straight. A little bit of Bondo from a previous owner, but they did a good job.
And here are those body lines we talked about in the last video. This one is very prominent on the front. It comes kind of look like it comes off of the front fender. This is smooth. I mean, that's where it starts. Then goes through the door where, where it's still prominent.
Way more pronounced on the door, and then it starts to disappear as it gets to the back of the car. It gets a little less pronounced, but it's still there.
In episode 1, we talked about the metal being thin. We talked about the metal not having a rust preventative on the inside of the doors and the car. Is that something you can add?
Yeah, absolutely. You can look inside of this fender and see how they finished it. Pretty much, if you look where the two pieces of metal were joined together right there, there's nothing. It's just a thin, like maybe some sort of 1970s epoxy primer, but the two pieces of metal being together, water gets between them, and that's one of the places they rust. Every panel on this car was kind of just built like that, spot welded, bare metal. Now, I'll either seam seal, or like a piece like that is going to get fully painted on both sides between the joining areas. So you end up with everything being way more sealed than it ever was. Oh, and also, it's not going to be daily driven in the rain, you know, constantly used as to go to work and all that. So it ends up lasting a very long time.
There's nothing in the engine bay right now, and it's huge. A lot of people put 350s in these.
Yeah.
A lot of people put LS motors in here, and they fit really well.
Yeah.
Once that straight 6 is in here, how much space do you have?
A lot. I mean, you could pretty much get to both sides. This side will have the air filter blocking, you know, this area, and then the carburetors are about right here, manifold. But the other side is basically wide open. If you put the Jags That Run JTR kit in it, it sets the engine down and back, and it actually works pretty well. Of course, I would never do that to a Z, but people that do actually have pretty good success with it.
Here's a lot of the parts. He said he's been going through them and putting them in different boxes, putting them in the areas I guess they need to be in. I see windshield wipers. Now, today's wipers, you'd look at this and it would be all rusty, but these are all stainless, aren't they?
This part, at least, well, this is.
Yeah.
This is painted metal, painted steel, but I think it is anyway. But yeah, the arms are pretty cool. I love the little rods, I guess you call them. They always look pretty cool to me.
And to replace them, you just get the refill, the rubber refill.
Yes, I'm going to make sure that I use these original arms.
Yeah. And all the trim around the windows and everything, that's all stainless as well?
Yeah, it's over here. Yeah, here it is. So this stuff is stainless. You can polish this. Oh, it's kind of stuck. There we go. So yeah, this is the front and rear, I think, window. But yeah, you can polish all this out. It's not chromed steel. It's actually stainless.
And if there's dings and creases, you could actually hammer those out.
Yep.
Sand them out, polish them back up.
Yeah, there's a little ding, an outward ding right there. So I could take a block or a file, a little fine file it down, then sand it, polish it. You'd never know it was there.
Yeah. And I see the airbox here is orange. I believe that's a stock color, isn't it?
Absolutely. I'm going to have to match it. I think it is really close to Kubota orange. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to sandblast this, and I already ordered the brand new decal.
Now, are you doing like your buddy Fred, where he had like stock style hose clamps, like everything is almost perfect on that car?
Probably not, because all that stuff is really hard to source and just crazy expensive. I don't think it's going to add enough value to the car. You could always change that later if you wanted to. I don't feel like it's that necessary.
I said almost perfect. I don't know of a spot on that car that's not perfect.
It's a beautiful car. It really is.
We might have to show you guys in one of these episodes.
That's a good idea, actually.
We talked about in one of the episodes about the steering wheel. Here's the new one he got. We hadn't showed you guys yet.
So this is a fake wood steering wheel that was original to all 240Zs. I think 260, at least the early 260 maybe. But after that, they went to the same shape of wheel with a really fat horn button and a fatter wheel covered in vinyl. So this was what the original wheels looked like. And I got lucky and found a really nice example. So that's going to look really pretty in there.
next episode you will see.
My hope is to have the fenders and doors primed, but just because we're going to be trimming the car out in the color that we're going with, I'm going to go ahead and just to kind of test run the color, I might just trim out the door jambs, and that way when after I trim out the doors, we'll mount those and be able to block sand the edges, then mask everything back, and when we paint the car, all the fender and everything will be in place. But yeah, I'm going to possibly go ahead and just, for the heck of it, shoot the door jambs to see what the color looks like in place.
We're going to end this one right here. Body and primer, paint color on the next episode.